Welcome to Cashflow Savannah, episode 55. Chandler, how are you today? It's been a minute since we've recorded together.
It has. It's been a busy month, the last couple of weeks. We've
Very,
been
very
on the
busy.
front. So
Well, and one of the reasons we haven't recorded in a while, may I say, is the entire topic of our conversation today. We had a drive-by shooting. And not only did we have a drive-by shooting, we had a drive-by shooting during a hurricane. Like, how many things went wrong in those 2 weeks, Chandler? I don't
it was,
know.
yeah, it was a mess. It felt like 2 months
It did.
to get that
It
all
did.
situated. But
Well, and the crazy thing is, it was a Monday. That was a tough Monday. Yesterday was also a tough Monday for me, but we'll get to that later. But it was a Monday, and we knew a hurricane was coming, but it wasn't even going to be in Savannah until I want to say that night or Tuesday. Like I feel like Hurricane Day was really going to be on Tuesday.
mhm.
So I woke up Monday morning knowing it was going to be raining because a hurricane was coming, but I didn't know our hurricane started a little early. But I woke up to a horrible text message, and it was from one of our owners who had been contacted by the police. There had been a drive-by shooting, and I had to go get your little behind up at very early on a Monday morning. I know that was fun when you're like, why is Julie calling me?
Yeah, that's a call you want at 7 in the morning.
Yeah. I
Start
don't
your week.
normally call you at 7 in the morning. I don't want to actually.
Come in with good news. With
Yeah. Oh, I would love to. Let's do that sometime. Yeah.
so
But it was tough when the owner had texted me and he said, we had a drive by last night, at this XYZ unit. And I immediately called him. I said, what are we talking about? And we manage, multiple rentals in the historic district. And this happened to be a top-down duplex. And we honestly don't know exactly what happened, but we think that the guests might have been local and someone wanted to hurt them and didn't realize that it was a two-unit building. And so you and I just went running down in pouring down rain. I don't think we had showers. No, we did. I said, get a shower. I'll be there in 45 minutes. We
yeah,
did, we
that
did
was
run ahead, and thank goodness, because it was a very, very, very long day.
yeah. No, we got down there pretty quick. What was it? 60 bullets, they said.
Yeah,
Yeah,
over
we
60.
don't really know too much detail. We hadn't got much back at all.
Right.
We were just more focused on getting the holes filled back up and getting the guests in there a week
Yeah.
later.
Yes, we were. Well, and I'll never forget, we parked right next door and we walked up, and just looking at the outside of the home,
Mhm.
the police had all these stickers to note to mark the bullet holes, and there were these like V-shaped stickers over every single bullet hole that they had found. And I just looked up and I'm like, oh my word, there were just stickers everywhere on, I guess, two sides of the building.
Yeah,
It was, and this is a historic home. Okay. Like, this is not something that I can just rebuild tomorrow. And, I was just kind of sick. I'll never forget walking past and looking at all the bullet holes. And I was like, oh man, what are we going to see inside? Um,
yeah.
it was
It
terrible.
ended up being a lot more bullet. What do they say? 80 something bullet holes because
Mhm.
they went through obviously and hit other walls. So it was a scene that I never thought I would see in the short term world. And I hope nobody else gets to see it too.
Me
So
too. This is not a bad property. It's not in a rough area. I mean, it is really a great property that rents very well. It was just kind of one of those one-off things that happened. And I mean, it could have happened in a long-term rental. It just happened to have, or a homeowner, obviously, but I'm just saying, it could have happened anywhere. But yeah, it was crazy. We walked in and there were definitely holes everywhere. We had holes in furniture. We had holes through the walls. We had holes through the art.
mhm.
And the crazy thing is bullets had come in walls, exterior walls, through the room and through interior walls into the room on the other side. I mean, that I honestly had never really personally witnessed how much damage a bullet could really do. That was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I knew I've shot some guns before. I knew they could go through like that. I'm just nobody was hit. We can say that. The guest did jump out the back window, so that window was completely smashed.
That was smashed. We had blood all over the place. I think they cut themselves
Yeah,
going.
trying to get out of the window, they cut themselves.
Yeah.
But
There was also a lot of blood by the front door that we had to clean up. I think
yeah,
they had cut themselves somehow and then had gone out. Some had must have gone out the door. We're really not sure. Um, the
no,
upstairs guests, were spoken to by the police, and the downstairs guests, they were no longer to be seen. No one ever saw them again, to our knowledge. So we really didn't get much info.
that's what surprised me the most was the upstairs guests kind of just they just stayed through it.
Yeah.
Uh, Supposedly they had a kid too. Um,
Yeah.
I think I don't know. They had to be connected. Like it was so okay. I want to say later on, the owner was telling me that they located the upstairs guests and knew where they lived, and it was down the street in Savannah. Um, so that was they were local. They were staying. Uh, I think they were connected because you don't just a house doesn't get shot up like that and you just stay through it. Like,
They did, though. The upstairs guests went back in and went to bed. The downstairs guests were gone.
fine.
It was
Yeah,
kind of I have no idea whether they knew each other or not. I would never go back in and stay there. I would be like, yeah, I'm gonna have to get somewhere else, to stay. Like, there was one spot where the bullet went through through the wall, through the headboard of the bed, and
mhm.
embedded into the wall across the room. I mean, that's really scary.
Yeah. No, it was those bullets went to the right place as long as they didn't hit somebody. So it
Yeah.
was
I
it was
think
a sight.
we lost 7 windows. We lost 7 blinds. We lost a whole bunch of curtains. The couch has bullet holes, which were sewn up. Boy, we got in there. We had our vacuums going, and there was just shattered glass everywhere. And this is a historic home, so it has these beautiful wood floors, which do have, you know, the crevices between the wood. And I was just so meticulously just trying to get all those shards out. That really scared me, to not get every little piece of glass out of there. It was such a mess. And Chandler, what were your thoughts on the smell? It did not smell good in there at all.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the smell was, but that's the hardest out of all of that. The craziest thing is getting the smell out.
Yeah,
Out of all of that, the easiest thing is getting the windows, like the little window panes replaced. Curtains, blinds, easy. Smell is the hardest thing.
we
And
had
I
a
can't
hard time with that
stand
smell.
anyone.
And that's
Can't.
after we literally did clean, we cleaned every piece of furniture. Like there was no smell coming from the
Yeah.
furniture. We cleaned the rugs. I mean, that was a booger. And it was weird because the downstairs unit smelled worse than the upstairs unit. The upstairs unit was weed for sure, but I never did establish what the downstairs unit smelled like at all.
I don't know, but it's gone now. I know that.
It is,
So
well, that's true. That's
we're,
true. But yeah,
we're working.
whoever the guests were, they were not my favorite guests. They were not taking care of the property at the beginning and then ended up inviting in some kind of trouble that brought the bullets. And man, that was just such a mess. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, no, it's hopefully the first and last time I see it, or we both see it.
I hope so too. We went in, we spent probably 5, 6 hours cleaning, vacuuming, doing what we could, but we didn't have all of our tools with us. As
No.
property managers, we have all kind of different things and I can't, you or I both really can't carry everything into one vehicle. So we actually had to leave, get more products, come back. And it was still another week's worth of work after that, just to get the smell and all the stains out.
It looks good now, though. I think it looks pretty good. So
It
maybe we're gonna
does.
arrange some things, get some nicer curtains. So
I like the new curtains. The nice thing about these rentals is that no matter who books it, what platform, we always have an insurance policy. So
mhm.
we were able to upgrade some of the things in the home. We had to pay workers to come do some painting, replace the glass. I mean, it was such a job. Chandler, you spent a lot of time there just cleaning and rehabbing, and we went and bought new blinds. So luckily those insurance policies, they kind of covered us. It's pretty much impossible to make any money. You're definitely going to lose money on an expensive thing like that, but at least everything that we spent and that the owner spent, we were able to get, reimbursed from the insurance policy. That was huge.
Yeah, no, that's the beautiful thing about it is most people are like, oh my gosh, what if a guest ruins your home? We're like, we've had some pretty bad things happen and
Right.
get away with it, and make it look almost even better
That's
than
true.
before. So I would highly recommend an insurance policy for sure.
Yes. And
You don't have to
professionals.
get,
When you have people that know what they're doing, they've got the tools, they've got all the resources, we got in there and within a week, this property that had 60 to 80 bullet holes in it and ruined furniture, ruined, glass, within a week, we had both units back up and performing for that owner. And the insurance policy actually will also cover for lost revenue. And that's huge as well. So we didn't have much left over to do that. We maxed out the claim, but that's the other good thing is let's say we had a policy for 1,500, we had $300 worth of repairs, but then we missed out on $800 worth of bookings. We can claim that as lost revenue.
yep.
So
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about it. And for someone that wants to get into short-term rentals or has them, like you just kind of got to understand that like bad things are going to happen to your property. Some people just can't, like if a broken blind or like something gets ripped, they just freak out to where I'm just numb to it all now. It's kind of even the shooting, I was kind of like, okay, let's get back to it. It's just like you see so much that it's just like, all right, let's fix it and get it back up. So I would say if you're doing a short-term rental or getting into it, just understand that like something's going to get stained,
right.
someone's going to ruin your property. Just understand what you're doing and get back to it. So that's my advice.
And if you have a home and you want it to remain perfect, just never rent it out ever. Like you have to have the
Yeah,
mindset that this home is an asset and it's going to make you money. And it's not about perfection. It's about the revenue. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be rude, but it is. And that's how I look at it. And we've talked about this before on this podcast, Chandler, but there was a point, last year, I don't even know when it was. I just don't even care, but you happened to mention to me weeks after the fact that one of the ones that I own in Richmond Hill had been completely, they had stolen most everything that they could get out, including my shower heads. You were like, hey, oh yeah, I already replaced it. And I was like, I don't really care. I don't care that I have new shower heads. I don't care that I have new pillows. I'm not married to any of it. It's there to make me a profit. And you can go change the decor tomorrow if you want, Chandler, as long as the insurance policy pays for it and I don't have to do anything as the owner, I'm good. Like it's an investment for me. And so that's, having that mindset is just so important to be like, this sucks. We hate that the property got shut up, but it's actually in really good shape now. And no one has any clue that that happened. We stepped in, we handled it, we called it a day. And that's what it's there for. That's still making that home has made that owner so much money over the years, even though it sucks to go through it. At the end of the day, he's making a very nice profit and it's going to be okay.
yeah. No, the only rebuttal I would say against that is for owners, it's okay, but for property managers, if you want to be a property manager, you're
Yeah,
losing tons of money when you let guests in and do it
for
because
sure.
it takes loads of time. So that's one thing you don't want to just let any old guest stay at your property.
I agree. And
Yeah,
you
that's the
have
thing.
to,
You're still going to deal with all that and
right.
just move on from it because it's going to happen.
Well, at high levels and low levels, you hear about it. I mean, I'm trying to think who it was. I want to say Adam Sandler, but I have no idea. It was some celebrity. I was talking to an agent and she knows a lot of the OGs in Savannah and they'll rent out their big giant houses. The entire house is not like
Yeah,
a typical
yeah,
rental,
yeah.
30
Uh-huh.
grand a month to like the Adam Sandlers and the Bruce Willises of the world or whatever, A-list people. And and she said they see insane damage when they do these insane rentals and the people don't care. They're just like, I paid 30 grand for it. You deal with it. There
Yeah,
was one, I can't remember who the celebrity was, but they had let their dog dump all over, one floor of the house. And they were just like, well, we paid $1,000 cleaning fee and you're welcome. Like they did not care. So you can mitigate it with price and try your best, but at the end of the day, you have to make a profit. So you need to charge enough to make these things work
yeah,
when you're
yeah.
going with it.
I will say I think the cheaper you are, the cheaper the price, the worse your guests generally
Typically, yes.
be. The more expensive people, what you're normally going to get is they just love to rage. They party. And that's what, and so that's when they don't care. They start drinking and they don't care.
Yeah, that's never
That's what,
good.
that's not what you deal with. You deal with whatever. But, yeah, just know that's going to happen. That's my
That's
advice
right.
for you.
It's going to happen at some point, and you got to get through it. And you go,
Yeah.
okay, what can we do better? And you do that, and you keep it moving. That hurricane, it was Hurricane Debbie that came through, and again, it really hit Florida. I mean, it wasn't a bad hurricane. It was a Category 1. The problem with Debbie is that it moved really slow, so it just rained over us for 2 days solid, maybe a little bit longer, and then it was gone. And you and I were so busy with this shooting, I thought the hurricane was done, but Debbie had other things to say. It sat over this area and the area inland from us for days and just rained and rained and rained and rained and rained. And so, a week after Debbie left, we had a whole other issue. And it was crazy, huh? Because we were just coming out of this shooting, and all of a sudden we had more properties that we had issues with. That was quite the 2 weeks there.
I don't, I'm not sure even, I guess I got my stories mixed up, but I'm not sure how that flood had even started. Some people were saying a dam busted, and so a river was just flowing, and it
I
made
have, I'm with
up.
you. I've heard all kind of stories. I'm not sure. And you and I both have been here a long time, and we've never seen anything like what happened. The Savannah River overflowed, and also the Ogeechee River overflowed. And my understanding, it was just a lot of rain inland, and we don't know if a dam broke. I'm really not sure. But as
Yeah.
the water moved down towards the ocean, of course, we're
Yep.
between that, and randomly, just places that never flood were literally a foot underwater. And I own a ton of properties in flood zones, and none of them were affected. It was the properties that were not in flood zones. And we don't manage like in Effingham or Bullock County, and they definitely went underwater. But Richmond Hill, Georgia, is a big place that we manage. And Richmond Hill actually went underwater. Some of two, maybe three of the neighborhoods that are in town. I happen to own one of them. I don't have flood insurance on it because it's not in a flood zone. There's others in Richmond Hill that are in a flood zone that
Yeah.
did flood. But it was just so random that the Ogeechee, at least in our case, where I'm just only talking where we manage, but please know that other places were affected as well. But the rivers just filled up, and there was just nowhere to go, and the sewers filled up. And I mean, the water just went up, 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 and neighborhoods that were not in flood zones were suddenly, you're accessing it by boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, at Sid Was Here, we're just finishing this horrendous shooting, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, these properties are flooding. And I was like, what? I was so shocked.
It was random.
Well, but by the time it flooded, it wasn't raining anymore. The sun was out.
Yeah. Mhm.
It was
No.
so confusing. And I was driving past these neighborhoods every day, and the biggest thing when I knew we were really in trouble was when they shut down Highway 17. Highway
Mhm.
17 is the Atlantic Coast Highway, and the bridge on Highway 17 was the first thing to shut down, and they shut down Love's Seafood. And Love's, we always call that the Forrest Gump Bridge, because if anyone has seen Forrest Gump and you see Jenny, they show her playing her guitar without any clothes on at Love's, and it's actually a seafood restaurant, but they made it look like it was a club or whatever it would be. And then after Forrest sees her playing the guitar, he goes out on the bridge, and it's over the Ogeechee River. And
Mhm.
Jenny is about to jump off of the bridge and kill herself because she's sad, and Forrest saves her. So they closed down the Forrest Gump Bridge, and I said, "What? Like I've never ever seen that bridge closed ever, ever, ever. I've been here through many hurricanes." And so that put traffic just into lockdown. Ugh, getting in and out of Richmond Hill was horrendous, right? That was the first thing. And then next thing I know, these neighborhoods are starting to, the water's just going up, up, up. And boy, we were in trouble.
Yeah. No, the traffic was the worst. I mean,
Oh,
obviously, flood, but I think it took my 30-minute drive to an hour 30. It was just a
yes.
mess all around. But it was random neighborhoods that you would never think with blood. the one neighborhood that everybody's like, all right, y'all get ready. Didn't even get wet. It was just the
Yeah.
craziest thing.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that flood. I was horrified. And, we had guests we were dealing with, we had tenants we are dealing with, we have owners. And, one of our owners that was involved in the flood, they rely on that income. Like that's a big part of their income. And man, I was sick for them. And I mean, I've never felt so helpless watching that water rise. And there just wasn't much we could do. I did get in that neighborhood just as quick as I could. I carried boots in my car for days. They were waterproof boots. They aren't that high. They're only maybe up to your calf. They're not like knee level or anything. But I was carrying those boots. I was like, man, I got to get in there. I had personally owned a house in there that I wanted to check on, and I was so concerned for that owner. And so finally, I think over a weekend, you know, you could see the boats started to go away. People were leaving boats at the end of this neighborhood so that the tenants and owners could go in and check on their stuff. I mean, that's how horrible it was. You could literally pick up any boat and a paddle and paddle in anytime. Like it was just horrible. And so finally the water went down enough to where I could kind of see the sidewalk. So I had my husband wait at the end of the street. We had a Starbucks underwater. I mean, everything. Churches were underwater. I mean, it was crazy. And I went tromping in so I could check on these rentals. And the smell was not your favorite channeler. It was sewer. I mean, the water was in the sewer was in the houses. I actually put a video, I think, on social media. If you look on Sid Was Here 912, I put a video of me walking into one of our furnished rentals. And I mean, you could see the feces up the back of the couch about 3 inches, maybe four. It had come up through the drain of the shower and the bathtub. Like it was so gross. Some of the beds were like, I don't know how you say the feet were metal or whatever. So the bed was fine because if it was up off the floor, it was okay. But pretty almost every house in the neighborhood, no, the flooring is done. A good chunk of the sheetrock is done. Like, oh, it was horrible. It was just absolutely horrible. Did you get in there, when they were starting to clean up Chandler? It was bad.
No, I haven't even been back there.
Yeah.
It was such a mess. I was like, I'm not even gonna bother because everything's kind of tore out now and on the
Yeah.
side.
It's bad. I went inside several of the houses. I just had to check. I needed to know, and I knew the owner wanted to know. And so, um, anyway, we're now in the, rehab process on all those. Some were not too bad. One of the ones that was a long-term rental, we only had about an inch, maybe inch and a half in the garage. And the thing I learned, I didn't know this before, is that I was like, okay, the house is good. It only got into the garage. Well, the garage has sheetrock. And so within a week or two, mold had crawled up the sheetrock, probably 2 or 3 feet, just from having about an inch, inch and a half in that garage. I thought that was very interesting. So we had to pay guys to go in. They cut off the bottom of the sheetrock and then they dry it out and then they put on new sheetrock. It's been a whole. I feel like I'm getting educated on all these things I really don't care to know about.
No, that's the real estate, real estate for you right there.
Yes.
It's not all fun and games.
It's not all fun and games, but the stories. I mean, who has crazy stories like this? We go from a shooting to a flood to everything else. I've never had a summer like this, Chandler, ever. Never, ever.
Honestly, it was funny though. It was kind of a smooth June and July, and then all of a sudden August hit. And it was just like, all right, want to hand y'all some stories.
Yes,
So
it has been a rough August. And then to finish off my August, my husband was trying to burn up some of the stuff that you and I peeled out of properties, and we have a burn pile at our property. And so he said, "Oh, I'm gonna, get this lit." And he ended up getting burned pretty bad. And that's another reason I haven't been able to film is because I've been spending a good bit of time at the burn center with him. I have to drive him. He's okay, but his legs will never be fabulous again. It's pretty bad. What his legs look like zombie legs, kind of.
yeah,
Um,
I know for you, it's been a wild one. It's been
very,
a learning year, I feel like. This whole year has been, I feel like it's been a learning year for me at least, because I jumped into the business world kind of right after COVID, I want to say, when everything was just flying around, money was being made, and now it's kind of slowing down, really slow actually. And So you have to learn some things. It's not just easy to make money.
That's
So
true.
that
And I think
it's
2024 is when the real investors appear and when the people that just they're only here for the good times, they're bouncing, don't you?
yeah, which I think is a good thing to have
Yeah.
because like you need because things were getting saturated and the bad ones just need to go, like and the good ones are going to stay and troop through it. And then I mean, there's going to be another period where good times come back, and then it's just always cycles around. But this is
Right.
kind of like the first like down down cycle, I guess. But I kind of like it. It's you really have to like learn, and I've learned so much, and kind of it opened my eyes to more things, I guess. It's like, oh, okay, that's how that works. Oh, okay. So
Well, I want to point out though, Chandler, and I agree with what you're saying. I'm in no way disagreeing with what you're saying. In fact, I'm scared to disagree with you. You'll throw a baseball at me. Just kidding.
no, it's good. I like it.
I'm kidding. But what we're down on right now, what's down in the market right now, as far as real estate, is short-term rentals. Okay. And I'm an investor myself. I want to speak about that. I my short-term rentals are not performing like they did 2 years ago, right? No one's are. We're still okay, but things are softening, I think is the best way to say it. But one thing I want to stay in gratitude for, because I've had a lot come down at me this year. Personally, there's just been some tough stuff and
Yeah,
there's no good in that. But real estate wise, because I have a very diverse portfolio, I'm okay. And
yeah,
we've talked about that a few things. You know what's doing really well right now? Long-term rentals. You know what's doing amazingly well right now? My self-storage facility. So that's where I just cannot say enough. Like it's great to have short-term rentals, it's great to have long-term rentals, it's great to have self-storage, it's great to have whatever, but diversify and be aware. Good stuff's going to happen and bad stuff's going to happen. And what's bringing me through the tougher times, like having to work on a house that got flooded that I wasn't expecting it to, right? I didn't have flood insurance, so that's hitting my pocket directly. But what's saving me is my other part of the portfolio that's doing really well. So that's where I'm just so thankful that I'm able to say, okay, well, house A is doing fine. House B got flooded. House A is going to help pay for the repairs on house B. Um, and that's where that diversification really comes in. And I just want to encourage people like things are going to come up and down. I have been investing in real estate since '04. This is definitely not my first downturn. This is actually not bad compared to what was going on in '07, '08. So
yeah,
everyone just keep that in mind. Like short-term rentals have softened, but other things are doing really well right now.
yeah. No, I think I'm not sure. I don't agree or disagree with you at all on any of those things. I'm not sure where you disagree with me. Um,
Well, you were saying
I
we're seeing
was more
softening, but
from
I wanted to clarify that it's just in one part of the real estate. That's what I was trying to say.
yeah. I just want to go. I guess I was more from a business standpoint. And another thing I want to point out is you buy absolute home runs. Like you
Right.
get, so I see people buy some deals. I'm like, I don't know, that's your numbers are going to be tough on that. But like the deals you buy are absolute like work. They'll work through the hard times. Like that's the good thing about like that I see when you buy deals is like you're getting a deal. You're not just kind of buying something and it's barely making sense, or even negative cash flow in some instances. But you buy absolute home runs. That's what I think helps you a ton.
I haven't
Um,
been perfect, but understand that a lot of those have had to sit. Like one of those that's now a home run, I look like a genius.
yeah,
I bought it 2 years ago and I've been sitting on it at 9.25% interest because a good chunk of it was on my line of credit. So it is, but it isn't. You know what I mean? Like it's been good
I
and
get
it's
it.
been bad. And then I had to suffer through the brutal rehab. A lot of times, an absolute home run takes money to be put in it. And when I
Yeah,
bought it, I didn't have it. So I had to sit on it.
yeah,
So there's good and there's bad. But yes, that's where real estate is such a long-term play. You have to go, this is a killer deal today. I bought something that I really didn't want to buy but it was such a good deal. I bought it knowing I was going to have to sit on it, but I was okay sitting on it because I got such a good deal.
yeah.
But I've definitely paid through the nose in holding costs. But now that property is floating me through some tough
Yeah,
times. Other
yeah.
property.
I know exactly the property you're talking about. That's still a home run in my books. That's still that was still a
3 months
killer deal too.
ago, I wanted
Yeah.
to light a match to that sucker.
I
I
know.
was trying to give it to you if you would just spend
I know. Yeah. But then Another thing about short-term rentals I kind of want to talk about
Yeah.
is I think I think short-term rentals are fine. I
Yep.
really do. Like
I do too.
I just think because short-term rentals rose and from 2022 and 2023, the supply went up 66%. Like that's factual. We know it went up. All right, so we had way more supply, same demand, and so you have to like compete and get really good. And in 2021, you didn't really have to compete. It was just so much demand, very little supply. So it's kind of like, oh, I guess I'll stay here. And then 2024, it's estimated there's going to be like 12% more supply coming in. So you're talking about like a major like boom in all of these rentals, and now you have to like compete and like be really good. And we walk into short-term rentals all the time, and we're kind of like, do you really think like do you expect this to work? And I mean, it's just the craziest thing that I walk into to these short-term rentals, and I'm like, this is not going to work. Like you need magazine looking homes, like
Right.
because these magazine looking homes are going for the same price as your home that you put Facebook Furniture Marketplace. Like they're the same price and they're making it like they just do so much better. So yeah, the supply is going through the roof. I was reading up on that the other day, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. And
Hmm.
so I think as the supply goes up, the bad renters are just going to continue to kind of get kicked out of the market.
No, I
Uh,
agree. The nicest decor wins all day, all night.
yeah.
People are booking based on location and photos. And if you have both of those, you're going to do well. And if
Mhm.
you have good location and terrible photos or terrible decor, which goes into
Yeah.
terrible photos, if that makes sense, they're going to book it. The last guest is going to book it, kind of a deal. So I agree. I have told so many people you will make that money back all day, all night, all the next day. It doesn't matter what the market is. If you have a beautiful property that's
Mhm.
well maintained, great
Yeah.
reviews, you're going to do fine.
And then another thing is like, I think another thing that you have to really understand is like, what do people want when they're visiting Savannah? And what do people want when they're visiting Tybee or whatever? And you can easily, I showed you the other day, I was like, you can find out easy what people want. And I was like, if I had a short-term rental, I would have to put all of these in the property because that's what people are looking for when they come. Like, are they looking for a pool and or a hot tub? And most places are actually looking for a pool or a hot tub. Like, I know that for a fact. Like
Yep.
Tybee Island, pool's the most searched thing.
Hard
Downtown
to find
Savannah
on
hot
site.
tub is the most searched thing. Or free parking downtown Savannah too. That's another
Yep.
underrated thing that I
Or
would never
Tybee.
think of. Or Tybee. Tybee's a mess parking. But
Well,
yeah, that's one thing that
I
I
think
think.
a lot of the softening too, though, is in the medium term rental market, not necessarily the short term rental market. I feel like it's more medium term rental. And I want to say, I saw this last year, over a year ago, I saw this coming, and I looked at my units with exactly the glasses that you're saying, where I'm going, I can't keep up with the competition. My unit is just kind of basic, and these other guys are designer level. And I started yanking furniture out last year, and that again has what saved me this year because those are now long-term rentals and they are performing every single month for me. So I just think as an investor, you can't be afraid to pull the plug and yank furniture. Like if the market's telling you you got to either put money in or get out, I got out. But other properties I put money in. I mean, I really have been taking a very hard look at my own portfolio, and
Mhm.
I also had some rougher properties, but I started doing those back in 2019 when it didn't really matter what it looked like. People just couldn't find a medium term rental to save their lives. And I made it nice. It just wasn't luxury, if that makes sense. So, as
No,
an investor, you need to always be watching the market, what's going on, what's the competition doing? Can I compete? Can I not compete?
and props to you for I'm trying to think of the word. You just really understand. I guess you understand the market really well because some people just will not. They're like, "Why is my medium term rental not working?" You're like, "All right, it's not working. I understand why it's not working. I'm gonna rip the furniture out long term rental." Where people just we try to tell them, "Hey, this your property's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work." They still want to try to make it work somehow. Where you're just like, "I know it's not gonna work. I understand why it's not working. Let's rip it out and go." So. Yeah, props to you for that, because some people just cannot understand that for some reason.
Well, I mean, your property gets reviewed every stay. Like that tells you something right there. Your reviews and your occupancy, it's not even that complicated. I'm not gonna lie. And
Yeah.
also listening to smarter people, but one thing I can't say enough, and we really try to do this almost every week at Sid Was Here, is we go, what's not working? Why? What's not working? Why? What's not working? Why? And just yesterday we had that meeting and there's one property we can't get it rented. It's a long-term rental. And I said, did we put in there, is the laundry in there? And it turns out that the photographer had totally missed the completely not obvious laundry area and it's not in the rental listing. And that's why. And I truly believe once we get that fixed, we're going to be good. But like whatever your investment strategy is, it may be going great tomorrow, but tomorrow you might struggle. And it's important for you to sit down and be honest with yourself and go, what's not working and why? And how can I fix it? And sometimes fixing it is selling it. Sometimes fixing it is removing the furniture. And sometimes, which I have done myself, the answer is to rehab it and put in new furniture. And one of my properties I did that in has done beautifully. And I had to put over $100,000 into this place that was a short-term rental. And I didn't want to, but I did it. And boy, that sucker has stayed booked ever since. But I had that hard conversation with myself where I said, this property is no longer acceptable in today's standards. Do I want to
Hmm.
make it a long-term rental or do I want to keep it a short-term rental? Because this is what it's going to take. And it was a math decision for me.
That was a good call though.
It was a great call. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm really proud of it. And it stays booked and we've had great reviews. But that project, putting money into that pushed back other projects. And I was not happy about it, but I still did it. It's never going to be easy. Getting ahead is never going to be easy. It's
Never.
always hard.
There's always something that pops up. That makes me think of I'm we're on a podcast shouting out another podcast. I want
Yeah.
everybody to go listen to the Ryan Pineda, David Green
Oh my
podcast.
God.
Oh my goodness, I loved it because it's just they actually talked about like stuff that you want to hear. Like, it was just basically the entire podcast was all the bad stuff that was happening to him.
Yes. And hellaciously bad stuff that I've
Yeah.
never even thought of going through. David Green has been through in his portfolio. He is a friend of mine. I knew some of it. I was enraptured listening to that. And my husband was as well, who is over listening to real estate, anything. And he was like, he couldn't stop. Yeah,
No,
that's a great interview. It's a 2 hour interview. I can't even give it enough shout outs, but you're right, Chandler. Like to hear what David Green has been through, and this gentleman has a lot of money. He has a huge portfolio and he's not giving up on any of it. And Ryan flat out said, why don't you just sell it at a loss? And he's like, no, I'm going to see it through. And I was like, good for you, David.
yeah, no, they both just talked about basically they're like we're just ranting about all the bad things happening to us right now because they're both going through some things and
Yeah.
um but they just know how to pivot and understand the market and what to do and I always echo active income and they're like heck yeah they both make great money outside of real estate
Right.
so that's one thing that I always echo that people don't really want to understand like real estate's forever money. You need to make today money, tomorrow money, and then you can make forever money.
You
So
got to have it all. So, wow, great episode, Chandler. Just to tie this in a bow,
there you
bad
go.
bad things are going to happen. It may be in a short-term rental, it might be in your personal home, you just never know. But in real estate, there's always great stories and you can always get through it and you're going to get back to profitability, but it's going to really, really be horrible when you're going through it. Chandler and I both have been through so many ups and downs in this business and we still love it every day. We love it. So
Yeah,
hang in there. Like don't feel like you're alone. I just can't say that enough. That's why I love hanging out with other real estate investors. I They all have the same stories, as you and I do of just sometimes it gets really tough and you want to shoot somebody, mostly yourself, and then you get through it and then you get another check from that property and you're like, it's okay.
yeah. No, it's roll with the punches.
Yeah.
That's why I love sports. And just adversity. It teaches you to go through it. There's always adversity in
Yeah.
baseball, especially like baseball. You fail more than you. I think that's why I can take so much because literally just failed more than I succeeded in baseball my entire life. So like failure is just kind of like, all right, let's go to the next one. So that's why I love that I went through the whole baseball thing, because it taught
Absolutely.
me to fail and just keep going, fail, keep going. So
You
that's what
quit every time you struck out. I mean, just leave, right?
yeah, you got to keep going.
That's
So
right.
um,
Real estate's
yeah,
the same way. You're going to have a loss here and there. You're going to lose money, but
yeah,
overall, winning.
there you go. But we thank y'all for listening. It's been a while. It was good to get back on here and talk to you, Julia. Um, but yeah, please like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you want to hear. I know this was an interesting one, but we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.
Bye bye.